to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could join me in a moment of silence for those who are in uniform and who serve this country and our town, state, and so on. Thank you. Turn off your cell phones and put them on vibrate. We'll carry on. Adjustments to the agenda. I know John has a few.
Yeah, we have a second airport grant that we received today, and that was for the final engineering and permitting of the grant. The total grant $480,000, $24,000 is the town, $24,000 is the state, the rest is federal, $424,000. And so we can discuss that when we discuss the $135,000 grant for the environmental impact.
Okay, just make sure I don't miss that day when we get down here to the ARP grant. Thank you.
And Anna Lee Rosenblatt's here, and she would like to add a second executive session to bring you up to date on union negotiations. That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Review and approve the meeting, minutes of the meeting of July 16th, 2018, organizational meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the July 16, 2018 organizational meeting for any corrections or additions.
Second?
Any corrections or additions? Any question? All in favor? No opposed. For the July 16th meeting, which was our regular meeting,
Chairman, I make a motion we approve the regular meeting minutes for July 16, 2018 with any additions or corrections.
Second?
moved and seconded. Comments, criticisms, changes? All in favor? No. No opposed. Number 4, public to speak on non-agenda items. As you peruse the items tonight, make sure we're not talking about those so we can carry on. We got anything? Mr. Wargott.
Yes. I would like to request, this has to deal with the relocation of the Boone Lake Road as part of the airport project, because it's one of the earliest parts of that expansion project. And I made a quick outline of what's on my mind and a couple of the older things that get you up to date, where it was a warrant article and then it wasn't a warrant article, and then some correspondence between the town's attorney, that, and so I just think would behoove everyone if the selectmen got a little more involved and, check this out a little further before it gets going.
Okay, are you requesting that's on the agenda for, are you requesting anything from us in terms of resolution or?
It doesn't have to be done tonight.
Yeah, well, it won't be, but I'm curious, do you want to be on the agenda for next time is what I'm asking?
If you don't take it upon yourselves to take action, then I would like to. If it's not on your agenda, yes, I guess I'll just answer yes. Okay.
Anything else, Mark? Thank you. Dennis?
Thank you for
You're
the
welcome.
opportunity to speak.
Dennis, you're next?
Yeah, I've been here several times, and it still doesn't appear to be on the agenda about the lease for the Farmers Association at the airport. And I'm just wondering if I should do this in a different way and go before the airport commission for a recommendation to the selectmen, or what should I do? I'm just kind of frustrated it doesn't seem to be making any headway here.
I can address a little bit of that. I have talked with John about this thing, and there is a process that he's going through. You want to take over, John?
Yeah, we're looking into it. Yes. Seems to me on the tax maps, it shows up as airport property, and my question was, what does FAA have to say about us entering into any kind of a lease or agreement on airport property? Talk to, whether it needs to be a formal lease or just an action by the board to say that, you're part of the, the town.
Mm-hmm.
You're using it already. there's also on that same parcel, there's apparently some old satellite dishes that a cable company.
There's an old head end there for the old cable TV guys. but-
So how that happened, I can't find any information. Keith's been looking. So we're trying to figure out if it's a formal lease that, you know, for like 99 years or whatever, what is FAA? I would think FAA would want to have something to say about that because it is actually airport property.
Yeah, because we were up there before, except we were on the other side of the airport. The selectmen wanted to move us when they tore down the bean hangar, so they told us to move on the other side, and they would give us a 99-year lease, but we never got the lease.
Well, one thing I asked about today is what does FAA say about when we lease space for hangars, and they don't currently have any input.
Exactly right. Right,
So,
I don't see.
I suggested to Rebecca that maybe this should be discussed by the airport commission first, and then, you know, how would they like to see the selectmen deal with it? I don't think there's ever gonna be an issue of the town not letting you use the building you're
Right.
already using and the property around
Well,
it, so.
our problem is we don't have any, we can't prove that we have any right to be there, so therefore it's pretty tough for us to go out and borrow some money
Oh, I
to
see.
build a building so we can house our antique pieces, so.
Can I step in, John?
Sure.
You mind? Dennis, what I had suggested to the town manager was that we identify what the property is, and the firemen can best do that. So if some arbitrary stakes could be put up, then we would have measurements to present to the airport
Yeah.
commission, and then they can make a recommendation after, I'm sorry, I just lost your name. Rebecca finds out from the FAA if in fact we can do all of the above, and then this board can act upon it.
I mean, we're agreeable to about anything, we just want to work something out. I mean, I can go to the next airport commission meeting and maybe set up something with them to walk the area and take a look and
Yep.
come up with some ideas. I'd be willing to do that.
Yep.
I don't know when they meet.
It didn't get lost into the mix, it just was a question of getting the i's dotted here before we could put you on the agenda.
Okay.
Yep, next airport commission meeting is when?
It's the last Monday of every month, so.
There you go.
whatever the last-
So if you could be there for that, then you can fill in the blanks, yes.
And I asked, if you're going to build a building, that does make a difference, because we have a drainage pond, and you can only have so much pavement or cement down, or building structures down before that pond has to be expanded. So for the airport commission to approve anything, we would have to know the size of the building you'd want. I'd have to run it by FAA and the engineers for the airport.
Yep, that's fine. Because we're planning on getting rid of the two structures that are up there now.
Yep.
And replace it with something else, so the net gain on square footage is not gonna be very much.
Okay. Donnie?
Yeah, for John, you said there's satellite dishes and stuff. Now, is that on our property, or is that on something that,
I believe it's on the airport property.
Yes.
That
okay,
lease was-
so were they leasing it, or they just?
Couldn't find any information. Apparently, they're no longer there. It's from an
They're
old
paying a
cable.
tax bill still.
They are paying.
They pay a tax bill up there. I had asked the assessors before I went on vacation after the last meeting. They pay the cable company still pays a tax bill to the town. The property isn't marked out on the tax maps. There's a tax card and it says right on the tax card that the property isn't marked out on the tax maps, so I don't know what their ownership interest is.
So we don't know who belongs to that piece of property.
It could be just a personal property.
I think
It's
it
it's a
is.
separate book for personal
Salary,
property than real estate.
Personal could be.
Could be.
Well, I'll have to look at that, but we
You're right,
haven't
the
found
commitment book.
anything yet, so. I just discovered that today, that those satellite poles, they're not even in use anymore, apparently.
No.
Because I think that company's still in existence over somewhere,
I'm not sure.
in Hampshire,
They
maybe.
pay a tax bill.
Are they paying it?
Yeah, and it's a real estate tax bill, not personal
Okay.
property.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
We
But
must
they
have
don't,
an
we don't have a
agreement
tax
somewhere.
card and it's not on the map, so I don't
So
know.
we don't have one way or the other.
Good. Mark?
Is it Argent Communications that's the owner of record out of New Hampshire?
I don't think so, but I cannot remember for sure.
Signet.
Because they were the last
It's
ones to
England
operate
or something.
Oh, there's been so many.
Yeah.
yeah, but they see, when they first came, I entered into a right-of-way agreement before they built Chick Hill Drive or any of that stuff. I gave them a right-of-way from Winter Road to the airport property when they first set up. And those were the last folks that I've had anything to do with. And when they pulled out of Rangeley, they sent us a notice that they were gonna continue to operate in New Hampshire. But I've never had any reason to follow up on that.
Dennis?
Back when we gave them, the rights to that, there was supposed to be money put in escrow, and I think there's $30,000 somewhere, to be able to move the system when they get done. I mean, that was supposed to be, that's nowhere near enough money to do it, but that's what it was supposed to be for, to tear the system down when they're done, and they're not using it anymore, I don't believe.
Okay. So we have a clear path, at least for you to start off with, is on this one here.
Yep.
Next airport commission meeting, then they'll be back to us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anything else public to speak? Larry?
Is Article 10 going to discuss the loan information on that road project? Is that the intent of 10?
That's on the agenda, Larry.
That, what you said, road construction loan breakdown, that would be referenced in the sheet.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else? Hi.
Just wanted to.
How are you?
Very good.
Just
Wanted to commend the cemetery committee. The cemetery stones look wonderful. And people who were here over this last weekend appreciated the extra TLC.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that the cemetery committee know that. And the select.
Well, we'll take that thumbs up since we got a thumbs down, but I appreciate
It looks
that.
great.
Thank you.
Amazing job.
Anything else from the public? All set, we'll move on. Thank you. Boards and committees, we don't have anything, correct, do we? Or do you have any boards and committees out
We
here?
got Donnie.
Huh?
Ordinance?
Yeah,
Boards and committees, that's you.
yes, sir.
Rock it down.
The ordinance committee's meeting twice a month, and we're in the middle of at this moment, the marijuana ordinance. So, and it's gonna come here, and then the board will decide whether it goes on to the lawyers, and then if it passes that muster, then it goes to a couple of public hearings, and then we'll have a special town meeting at one point. So, and as long as we're talking about this, can I mention that thing I
Go
talked to you
ahead.
about? I believe we should be getting the notes of all the board and committee meetings, just so we kind of have a clue what's going on. And if anybody else has a problem with that, I don't know, but just so if we're asked a question, at least we know what everybody's kind of up to.
Yeah.
I mean,
So you
not
don't-
that
you
we're
don't have-
keeping an eye on it or anything, I just, for our own information.
Yeah. You don't have an internet, you don't have internet at your house, so.
What's that?
I said, you don't have internet at your
Just
house,
my
do you?
phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can't, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
The ordinance committee is advisory in nature, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Let me
Yeah.
just check.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Consent items, AP warrants, 59, 5, 7, and 8.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the AP warrants 59 for fiscal year 18, 05 for fiscal year 19, 07 for fiscal year 19, and 08 for fiscal year 19.
Second?
Questions, comments? Dave, anything? Tony?
You're good.
All those in favor? No opposed. Anytime people are interested in what these warrants are, that's available to you here at the town office. Essentially delineates spending, how we're spending the budget. You're welcome to come in and peruse that at any time.
Jim? Right here.
Yeah, there they are.
There they are.
Warrants you just acted on.
Sign it out.
Mr. Town Manager, you're gonna find 2 signatures on all of those, from this guy and this guy.
And you need at least one more, now that you've approved it.
Okay. All right, let me get down to the next one here. Liquor license for Sarge's Pub and Grub. Give me a second to get to it so we can do this. Okay,
All right. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the liquor license renewal for Sarge's Sports Pub and Grub.
Second.
seems that all the i's and t's are dotted and crossed. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Mountain Star Estate LLC liquor license.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the liquor license renewal for Mountain Star Estate LLC.
Second.
Anything? Anything? All set?
No, it just seemed to be nice and busy. Great.
Dave, anything? All in favor? Thank you, it's a vote. Now, you don't have to leave just because you got your liquor license. I know you got lots of work to do. All right, next is event permits, the Shriners Parade. Need a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the event permit application for the Shriners Parade to be held on July 11th, no rain date, from 1 to 2 p.m.
Second.
August, I'm sorry. It does say 8.
We got a motion and a second?
That's July.
He seconded, if you got, okay.
Yeah.
Any questions? I just want to tell you, I don't know if you all know this thing, but Sonny Gibson, for the last 150 years, has put his heart and soul into this thing. I think, you know, if you think of the Shriners Parade, or at least I do, I think of Sonny Gibson and then his father before that. So, you know, my hat's off to them. So let the minutes reflect that the chairman of the board suggested he's done a wonderful job and hopefully can continue to do so. All those in favor? Thank you. Well, no opposed. Next one is the Trailtown Festival, pardon me. This festival is down on Pond Street. Fun event. You should all come to see it if you haven't.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the event permit application for the Trailtown Festival to be held on Saturday, September 1st, from 10 to 4.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments, anything? Anybody? I can. All those in favor? No opposed. Vendor's license, Rangeley Boosters.
Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the vendor's license for the Rangeley Boosters Club to be held, whatever.
Assorted activities.
That's it.
To be yet be determined.
Yeah.
Second.
Any questions?
No.
How many events do you hold, Leanna?
Right now, the main one is the Blueberry Festival, but we've done other things at different times. So
Yeah.
we usually get it for the year and hope we can use it again.
The Boosters is an organization unto itself with no auspices for the school or any other one, correct?
That is correct.
And your money goes where?
To support kids' programs at the school, sports, math team, ski team, whatever they need.
Great organization. Any other questions? Comments? All in favor? So moved. Thank you. And you also can kick around for a few minutes if you want.
No pressure.
Appointments to the ordinance committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Ethna Thompson to the ordinance committee. Is there a term
It should be 3 years.
for a 3-year term?
Second.
This is a reappointment, correct?
Yes.
Questions? Comments? Ethna, thank you for your service. Where are
Thank
you?
you, Bethany.
Yes.
Anybody who serves and does all the things that you do, I think deserves some appreciation once in a while, and I certainly do appreciate all your hard work. All righty?
And you can't run out either.
I'm here to press this evening, I can't leave until it's over.
All in favor? No opposed, thank you. Airport. We've got a recommendation from the Airport Commission to allow a building to be built. It's a different kind of building. It's a hangar that is of wood construction with metal siding and a metal roof. It'll look close to or similar to the two big ones that are up there. The difference being, of course, wood. It has met all the requirements, at least everything that I've read so far, snow load, and but it will be engineered as such with a stamp so that the town is meeting the intention. I have requested that the Airport Commission come back to us with a policy that talks about options for a future build. Wood versus steel, pitch versus shallow pitch, so on and so forth. So that's a request. I hope this board will support that request. I'd like to have a motion, please, to accept this building request.
Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the airport commission's recommendation and allow Mr. Alfredi to build his hangar with wood rather than steel.
Second?
Moved and seconded? Hang on. Moved and seconded? All set? Anything on the board? Larry?
The only thing, I didn't make that meeting, I was out of town, but I was briefed on it afterwards, and I believe the airport committee is meeting with the code enforcement officer to make sure that it meets all of our requests, the build and the asphalt, wind, snow load, whatever, so that if it's of similar construction, we agree that steel could be out of the market now price-wise because of where we are in this tariff problem, but we would like to have consistency in what we're building up there so that the view from the south has some rhythm to it instead of shanties. That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
So
Can you tell us a little bit about what the town stands to gain in terms of, in allowing this thing to come and finances for the future?
Well, my hangar is $6,000 a year to you, net to you. 20-year lease renewable. It's 80 grand over 20 years or whatever to you, this building.
Yeah.
If it meets the aesthetics, I think that we're trying to keep up there. Let's hope the code enforcement officer agrees with our suggestions. I just think that we've got a beautiful airport, and looking at it from the south to the north, it looks right, and then we'd like to keep it there.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Now, do we need to amend the amount to have?
And that's, do you agree with what I'm saying, Donnie?
I do.
Okay.
Run it by the code enforcement officer and see what he says, or not. I don't know.
Rebecca?
The specifications show that the color of the steel has to be a steel roof, and they've already agreed to that, because that's in the specifications,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Uh,
Code enforcement officer, the way I understood it and talked about it today with John, is that it meets BOCA requirements, and if he denies it, then they're coming back to us anyway, so.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
No, and I think it's for the next generation that we be careful and we build it right so that the aesthetic value of it remains consistent.
Okay. All in favor? No opposed. Next is the same building, the hangar lease. There's a lot of documentation supporting the lease structure in this thing, and needs our approval for this lease.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve hangar lease number 12-40G for Louis Alfieri.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Questions? Dave? Good? Cindy? John?
It came up about how much money that's worth to the town, having a new hangar. It's not only the airport lease, which I believe is what, 4,500 or 4,000?
It'll be around 2,500, but he also pays
2,500.
taxes on.
Property taxes on the building itself, because he'll own the building, so
Right.
that's why Larry's paying 6,000.
Well, sorry, that included insurance and other operating cost up there, but the total cost up there, with no debt, is about $6 grand a year. So most of that goes you.
Anything else, Sean? All in favor? No opposed. Terminal B Investment LLC. We have a letter here from, hold on, we have a letter here from Carl Burr's son. This is addressed to Mrs. Carmichael, Miss Carmichael. I'm writing with reference to the number 1240 hangar lease held by my father, Carl S. Burr III, leased April of 2015. We were able to finalize the sale of the hangar building in March of this year. The hangar was sold to Terminal B Investment LLC in Hollis, New Hampshire, Gregory Leeson. We respectfully request that the hangar lease be assigned to the purchaser. Should you require anything further from us, please advise. I need a motion to accept this.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the hangar lease assignment from Carl S. Burr III to Terminal B Investments LLC.
Second.
Questions? All set? All in favor? No opposed. Thank you. Cemetery, Dennis's favorite slot.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on.
AIP grant.
Oh yeah, I skipped right over that. Hold on. I told you to remind me, thank you. The AIP grant offer agreement, C230041-016, 2018. This particular one for 135K is to allow the town manager to sign the document which was ratified by the Board of Selectmen months ago, and take care of the environmental study that needs to be done. I need a
Already done.
excuse me, that's already done, yeah. Gotta pay for it.
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager to sign the AIP grant offer agreement.
Second.
Questions? Okay, well, yes, well,
I was just curious, do you know when the Board of Selectmen ratified, accepted the environment?
months ago. I don't have the date in front of me now.
But do you think there was an official vote on that?
Well, that's the only way this would have been done. Do you have a date?
What specific date are you looking for, Mark?
I was just, that it was ratified, so I'm assuming that was a vote. I was just,
This was moved, seconded, and voted upon by the previous board. The work was done. Do you have the date, John?
All in your folder, I have all the certifications signed by Tim, and they were dated January 12th, 18.
There you go.
So, back in January is when these are all
Some date prior to the
certified.
12th.
I knew Tim had signed off on it. I wasn't aware that the Board of
The
Selectmen
board did.
had signed off on it.
We
Rebecca?
can get those dates, but according to our grant policy, the board doesn't have to vote on it.
Yeah. Doesn't have to? Well,
So does that mean they didn't?
we'll be all right.
We did.
Yes,
Maybe if it was signed on June 12th, wasn't June 9th the special town meeting for the airport, where the townspeople voted on it? January 9th.
January, yeah.
So January 12th, he signed them, so maybe that's
Okay.
maybe that's why. Guessing.
The actual document, the cover page, it says that the governing body must provide authority to execute the grant to the individual signing the grant, which is the sponsor's authorized representative, and then the sponsor's authorized representative must execute the grant, followed by the town attorney's certification prior to August 20th, in order for the grant to be valid. So, we couldn't even wait till the next meeting because of the date deadline, and we would, if we missed that date, then we'd be responsible for paying $135,000 at the federal government.
No, thank you.
So that, and so after you approve this, then we'll have to send this to the attorney. He signs basically that you have given me the authority to sign, that's his role in this. And then he'll send it back and we'll get it to the FAA.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor? Thank you. What's the number of the second one that we've got to do?
All right, the second one is, I have the number.
We don't have.
No, I'm just looking at this one.
Yeah, this is what this has the page that is the amount on it. This has the page for each of them. this one is AIP project number 3-23-0041 -017 -2018. And this one we just received, and as you can see on what we just gave you, total of $480,000, $432,000 federal, 24,000 town, and 24,000 state. And that is for extended runway 14-32, phase 2, final design and permitting. So it's the same size package that I put in for the other one. So I was talking to Steve today, and if anybody really wants to see the document, we thought, since we copied the other one, it's basically the same. The only difference is all of the assurances and certifications were signed by Tim on April the 25th, 2018. So that's the major difference, and it's a different grant program, but the certifications is what we're signing. Those are all the same as in the other packet. So the same thing would apply. I would have to send this to the attorney. Once you approve me signing it, and he would have to certify that you've given me the authority to sign it. So.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager sign whatever the reference number is.
Number on here. 3-23-0041 -017 -2018.
That one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded. Cindy seconded. You did, good.
Absolutely.
I thought I heard you say
Yeah,
that.
no. I did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, funny. Take advantage of the deaf man. Good. Questions? All in favor? Thank you. We got everything under airport now, John?
I believe we did.
Cemetery, RFP for tree removal at Nile Brook, Schoolhouse, and Wilbur Cemetery.
Oh,
I'm sorry?
no, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion. We transfer from the cemetery account $10,152.50 for the final payment of the cemetery restoration.
Second?
Questions? Comments? You guys are doing good tonight. I'm loving this. All in favor? No opposed.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask a question. So the reference to the RFP, are you just stating that there's going to be an RFP produced and posted, or is it already up, or?
No,
Okay, all right.
the cemetery committee is advisory.
Okay, so you need a motion.
They want permission from the Board of Selectmen to move forward with that
Okay.
project.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make a motion to move forward with an RFP for trees to be cut on the perimeter of Nile Brook, Schoolhouse, and Wilbur cemeteries.
Second.
Questions? Dennis, have you gotten on board or requested to be on board?
I don't know how you're taking this, it sounds like you took the third one.
Well, we
first,
did.
now you're
Donnie
moving on
skipped
the
down, but
second
that's
one.
fine.
When you get to the middle one, I'll say.
Okay, very good. So anything on the RFP? All set? All in favor? No opposed. Removal of fence at the Evergreen Cemetery, which is number 2 in the cemetery line. It says in here, remove the fence at Evergreen to determine the future plan. Whether the plan is to keep the full fence or portions of it, it will need to be removed to restore it. The committee would like to remove it this fall to move forward with the planning. That's essentially the game plan. Am I right, Trish?
Yes.
Okay. You have any questions on that?
I do, is the fence going back?
That hasn't been determined yet.
I'm very concerned that we take the fence down, and maybe I've heard some rumors about planting a hedge, and the hedge would just hide that beautiful cemetery that you just cleaned all the stones up on. We should have a fence back there. I can't believe it costs that much money to repaint and fix what's there, not add more to it.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. I think you had your hand up, Heather?
I was just gonna ask that, I assume that the cemetery committee has done its homework on main law regarding fences or substantial boundary markers that must be around the cemetery. So the plan is not to not put something back.
Something. They're still looking into it.
Thank you.
But either way, the point is, if you want to restore the fence, you have to take it out anyways, so that would be.
Okay.
So do you need a motion to approve the removal of the fence, or is this just for information? Okay, all right, so I'll make a motion to approve the removal of the fence at Evergreen Cemetery
Second.
Moved and seconded. You had a Kathy?
with,
Well, my comment was that it might be prudent to have the plan before it gets removed, just so that everybody's aware of it, so there's no misunderstanding and miscommunication, that it gets removed, and the next thing you know, something else is put in its place. I think there's a historical, I know I work in a historical building, and even our fence in the front of the building in Portland has to be changed exactly what it was before if it's a historical piece. So I just think it'd be prudent for the town to kind of figure that out before it's removed, so everyone's on the same page.
Tricia?
Donnie?
I just have a question for Tricia. Are they gonna remove it so they can take a look at what it looks like, what's in
They
the
wanna
ground,
look-
I'm assuming?
Yeah, under the ground, we want to see what it is, and also to determine whether it's worth
Yeah.
restoring or doing something else there.
Okay. Because I just assumed that, you never know what's under the ground till you get it out of there.
so I think it's worth having in our discussion that this is just a removal, not a permanent removal of the fence. It's a removal to review what there is for stability for the fence, the condition of the fence, and for the cemetery committee to have, to get advice from a consultant, which they've done in the past.
All right, I have one comment. Go ahead, Mark.
Is it gonna be lifted out of the ground and inspected and stuck right back in? Or is it gonna be taken out in its entirety and stored somewhere?
The plan was to remove it and store it.
And where would that storage take place?
We're thinking the building right at the cemetery is potentially enough space for it.
All right, I have a question for you, Tricia. Is it the intent of the current cemetery committee to put this fence back?
They are unsure because that was the first intention until we put out the RFP, and it came in at $80,000 to restore it. So they are potentially looking at using portions of it and possibly doing some different things. And it's in the beginning stages of a 5-year looking at it, but it's something that they want to have public input on and all of that to try and get a good plan in place.
The cost of restoring it will pretty much decide what you're gonna do.
It was $80,000.
Well, once you get it out of the ground, you might
Yeah,
find
yeah.
stuff you didn't know about. Anyway.
You have a comment?
No, it's just, I remember past comments from cemetery committees when they've reported before is there are already portions of the fence down. And so
In the
it's,
woods.
yeah, and in the woods, there's some parts are in pretty rough shape, so it's just a matter of looking at the project collectively.
Yes, Larry?
The only thing I know is from the budget committee with the cemetery committee, and came to the budget committee and spoke about the fence. We looked at the $80,000 number, couldn't find the money for it. Then we said, if you were happy, the intent was to try to restore certain pieces of the fence, bring it together with some light hedge work, and make something attractive to keep the fence line, not all restored fence. Because they brought us the $80,000 number, and we couldn't find $80,000 in that budget. So that was all they said to us, and she was our lovely girl that's in charge of that, made the presentation. And thought that they could figure out a way to keep it within their budget. That's all I know from the budget.
Well, let me tell you what my feeling is, and you can take it or leave it. My feeling is that the cemetery is for everybody, And although the cemetery commission is advisory in nature and has gone to the budget committee and you couldn't find the money, that isn't to say that this town won't stand up and say, hold on, we'll find the money. And we'll do it next year, so I think it should be brought to the public. That's my feeling, folks. Which means that I'm not going to agree with the motion because I want to see the motion reflect that the public needs to decide if in fact there's going to be significant changes to the cemetery and how we're going to fund it. That's how I feel about it.
Well, I think they're gonna have public hearings, so there will be public input. Just don't know when.
You're correct, and I agree with the public input. My concern is that what we're asking to do now is removal, and if somebody makes a determination that's not workable, that may be one person's opinion. It's not necessarily the opinion of somebody else with like-minded or different-minded thought process in this.
I understood, though, Steve, that there was enough parts, they thought.
I'm sorry?
I understood there was enough parts, they thought, restorable to make the connections attractive and affordable. That's the way it was presented.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they haven't done a good job. Don't take that the wrong way, please. Wouldn't it be nice if all of a sudden the town stood up and said $80,000 is not a problem. We want to see that cemetery done A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then the budget committee's out of their hands. It's been a vote. Yes, Dennis?
My concern with the motion is that it doesn't say anything about that would assure us that we're gonna have a fence when we get done. I think what's gonna happen is just what happened to the town clock. We take it apart and put it away, and someday we're gonna fix it, and now it's just junk, and you're never gonna be able to do anything with it. And I think that's what's gonna happen with the fence, unless you specifically state that something's going back there for a fence. I don't think you should pull it out unless you've got a plan of what you're gonna put back.
Right. So noted. Anything else? All right, what's the motion, please? Could you just read that back to me?
Approve removal of the fence at Evergreen Cemetery. And then there was a comment of removal to review condition and stability and get advice from consultant.
I would think you'd only have to pull out a portion of the fence to see just what has to be done to the underground portion of the total piece of fence that is there. That would give you determination on how to write an RFP or whether you're gonna restore it or replace it or whatever. I wouldn't think you'd have to tear the whole fence out.
Noted. Yes, Don?
I have a question for you. When they were talking about restoring the whole thing for the $80,000, were they talking, is that removing it, or is that, yeah?
Yeah.
So they have to remove it no matter what?
That was the
Okay.
theory behind this. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you, I just throw it out there at town meeting and see if they'll spend the $80,000.
Or whatever the number is. that you
Whatever
want.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, how many responses did you get? Just one?
Yeah.
Local people or far away?
Local.
Yeah. What's your pleasure? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay. So, before we go any farther, what's the board's disposition? Where do you want to see it go then, knowing where we stand right now? Do you have a recommendation? Because I don't just want to let this thing
Well,
sit.
I just think that the taxpayers are gonna want an accurate number as to what the true cost is going to be to fully replace the fence. If they can't fully replace, I mean, we're going on information that was 4 years ago.
Maybe 3.
Yeah. So I just think whatever the cemetery committee needs to provide the taxpayers with an accurate figure and, 2 or 3 different options is we know that's what folks are gonna want.
We just need to keep an eye on this.
I'd like to see us do an RFP and see if we can get some more bids. People to come and look at it, so that when we go to town meeting in the spring, we have some numbers.
So we had
Put it out to bid.
one response the last time.
Yep.
See if we can reach out further.
I agree. I would recommend that you get on that and help with your input.
I'd like to.
You know where to go.
I mean, the fence itself is quite old.
Oh, yeah.
It's historic, it's very old. And I just would hate to see something like a cedar fence up there or something, you know what I mean? Or a hedge or something like that. It's a beautiful cemetery. Now they fixed the stones, it's gorgeous. You drive by and see all that. It'd be nice to be able to still see all that from the road. And so a few more trees in there. When I was a kid, those were all sugar maples, and they all turned a beautiful orange every fall, and it was just gorgeous there. But we've got some holes now, it looks like a smile with some teeth, someone's missing some teeth because there's some trees missing.
Yep. Agreed. Gonna make any movement? We're gonna let this one set till,
I'll make a motion that we send an RFP out to get the fence reevaluated and hopefully we get more than one person to look at it.
second, third. Any more discussion on that?
Problem with that.
Can I just have a quick question?
Yes.
So at this point, is it in danger of falling down, or is it in
Parts of
danger
it are
of
down.
hurting anybody, or if you just leave it as it is until you get that done? I guess that's my question.
Well, the sentiment prior to the last no vote, if you will, was that if it gets taken out and put away, it may never go back. So right now, we're leaving it as is, as I understand it, and getting somebody to come look at it, hopefully again, and give us some pricing. Yep.
Sure.
We should have
The-
something, should have something by fall, which is when it's gonna be pulled out, and they might recommend that we pull it out
Anyway,
to restore it.
anyway. We still have to find the money, Kathy, no matter what we do. I mean, to even to extract it.
Right, and my point was that we can find out what the money is beforehand, instead of getting into it, it costs us more, and then things get changes made in order to meet the budget.
Agreed.
So that's, I can say that happens sometimes periodically, and that's not the way we should be doing business, because I agree with you. I think people might want to spend more money to restore that, but they have to know up front. So don't create more cost until
Agreed.
you got a plan.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor of the motion? So moved. Thank you. I didn't miss anything. Transfer station, right?
Can I make one comment?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Have we talked like, the vocational school down Farmington, the
Yep.
middle class?
Yep.
They didn't want anything to do with it?
No. I'll try again.
Like,
Not to,
CMC and the big vocational schools?
That'll be a good project for them.
I don't want this to sound flippant, but, you know, reinventing the wheel sometimes is difficult to do. Are there other cemeteries that have had, other towns that have had the same issue that we might find out who they spoke to regarding their fencing, historic fencing? Might be helpful, I don't know. Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of them around. All right, thank you. On a transfer station, $3,492.35 Kuzno invoice for chipping.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna make a motion. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we take $3,492.35 from the transfer station reserve to pay the Kuzno invoice for chipping.
Movement,
Second.
seconded, discussion. This invoice is regarding last fall's damage and all the different chipping that had to be done, everything brought up in here. Okay, there was a point in time where it was a wash, didn't cost us anything, those days are gone. We have to pay a portion.
So reimburse FEMA. Reimburse FEMA. FEMA reimbursable.
Yes.
Some of it will be reimbursed by FEMA. But it's a whole year's supply of, brush that goes up there. And it's only before you this way because there was no budget item because we haven't had to pay for this in the past. So next year it will be in the budget.
Does that mean you start billing for it?
I'm sorry,
You start billing for it?
it'd be nice.
There's no reason why you can't.
Yeah,
$5 a ton is what they're chipping.
right.
I mean, not to make money, just to kind of break even, because a lot of folks don't haul brush up there. They shouldn't have to pay for all that.
There were 23 truckloads total for this one here. Had, like John said, $5 a ton. Yes, Mark?
I think it's a great service to provide to the people of the town of Rangeley, to get rid of their woody debris. But I was wondering, like the commercial guys that clear house lots and things, is anybody making any attempt to make sure that stuff's not coming from the plantations?
Rich?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
I know it's a tough one, but
Yeah,
for me, if fees were ever gonna be stated, it would be for people that don't already pay their taxes to the Rangeley. Because if all the stuff's being produced in the town, you know, that's fine. It's not the way I see it, you know, but if people in the plantations wanna use Rangeley's thing, and there's a cost to the taxpayers of Rangeley, they should be paying for that.
yeah. So noted. Do you want to comment on that, sir?
We haven't been doing a thorough check on the brush going down, but we could.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other, yes, John?
We have agreements with the plantations and with the counties to charge a fee to users of the transfer station as well as our fire department. So we just signed that earlier on, a month and a half or so ago. We signed an agreement to pay. There's an annual fee that they pay us for the right to use the transfer station.
But it's only the town of Dallas, right? Rangeley Plantation and Sandy River don't pay.
They don't pay that?
No.
I haven't checked, but I know there was something on those.
Yes, they all don't pay into it.
It's just unorganized territory.
That's with the counties.
Right. We're not going to change the policy tonight, so this is a question about paying this
Just
bill.
something to be aware of.
Yep, appreciate your comments. Yep. All in favor of paying the bill? No opposed. MMA, I nominate Cindy to be the chairman. No.
Stop it.
Annual elections, vice president, executive committee members. What are we doing with this?
Yeah, I thought these were by secret ballot before, something that was emailed to the members.
No, each town gets a vote, and you get to vote on either the nomination committee's lists for executive committee and vice president. And then you send it in and they tally it down there. Well, all the towns have the vote.
Isn't there a card or something? What did they send a?
It's in the,
You don't have that in there?
we got that, we got the,
Incorrectly.
Just a moment.
It's all right.
I have more information for you.
Yeah, there's a card.
yeah.
Oh, there were two separate issues. You got
Yeah.
The due increase and the,
part of each issue there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not voting for an increase, I'm telling you right now.
No, but we get a refund.
We should.
Credit.
While she's doing that,
Yeah.
let's move on to correspondence, so, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
We have a thank you from Jan and Russ Dodge. Give me just a second here. It's a short one, so I'll read it to you. Dear Tim, should be John. On Sunday, July 8th, my family was staying at, maybe I won't be able to read this.
Badger Lodge.
Oh, Badger Lodge, Dodge Pond. My son-in-law expired.
Experienced.
Anyways, just said thank you. We would like to thank the town of Rangeley and the professional responses by your personnel. We will be back next year for our 17th year at Badger Lodge. With many thanks, John and Russ Dodge and crew from New Sharon, Maine, essentially thanking us for the fire department and so on.
The date didn't expire.
No.
Thank you for,
Actually, the first time I looked at it, that's what it looked like.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard to
Just
read.
read it closer, oh, you didn't, no.
I saw something posted the other day, you all might get a kick out of this. You wanna know how to stop the world? Start writing in cursive and ask everybody to drive a stick shift. She's not back yet. Let's go to the next one, single stream, this may take a minute.
We could,
Brookfield Renewable Contract, that'll take a minute too, we'll wait.
we could go back to this one, I think. Do you need a vote on how we take this credit?
Yeah, it's a one-time credit, but
Yeah.
you can take it 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. And the dues is going to increase regardless.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation?
The whole issue, the reason for the credit is because towns like us are on a fiscal year, so we already have a budget in place. So you wouldn't have that much money budgeted for this next billing. So if you took the whole credit this year, we already have that amount in the budget. Next year, we'll budget accordingly. So I think get it over with, we would pay our dues this year based on what it cost us last year. That's what the credit is.
Okay.
And then next year, we'll budget the increase, and we'll have enough money in the budget to do it.
So we need a motion to approve option 1.
Yeah, and I'll send that in,
All right,
and
so-
they'll know how to bill us.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve option 1 from the Maine Municipal Association option selection form for utilization of the membership dues credit, which credits us $725 for the current year.
Second.
Any discussion? All set?
All set.
All in favor? Can Tracy hear that later and be all right with us, or are you taking the minutes? Okay, thank you. Hang on, everyone, she'll be here in a minute. Could you read that note?
Very difficult. You
What's
have
that?
to, you have to put the words in context in order to know.
Meaning no disrespect, I just had a hard time. I
Yeah.
didn't want to misquote something that would have been very important. So, it's just- How's the fishing on Rangeley Lake, anybody know?
I know the fishing's good, I don't know what catching.
There's your answer.
Pretty much right on.
There's a lot of boats going back and forth. Coming in and out. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
How's your view through the town park now? Pretty nice?
Well, around the poles and with all the lighting, we'll talk about that later, but.
Okay.
There's a lot of boats out there.
Heard they're catching a lot of fish down in front of Beaumont camps.
What's that?
Heard they're catching a lot of fish down in front of Beaumont camps.
The perch are coming in like crazy right now. Those kids are having a ball. Yeah. And when they catch a little trout, what's this?
Yeah. There used to be a fish that used to be all over the place,
Yeah.
and a lot bigger.
Yeah. There was a meeting, just a public information meeting. The MIA, Muslim Gunning Improvement Association, met Saturday for their annual business meeting and lobster feast. And they had, there was some questions brought up about some concerns from people living around the lake, light pollution, drone, illegal use of drones, and fireworks. And sadly, Well, not sadly, but one of the complaints was from people who live in Plantation, and I don't really know how the plantations deal with potentially illegal use of fireworks, but that was discussed for a few minutes, as well as kids with drones, and they were issued, the discussion moved towards some resolution with the FAA and calling them and trying to figure out how to take care of the drone issue. But since the state of Maine has agreed to allow fireworks, they pretty much go off almost any time. I've seen them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's kind of bizarre, but waste your money blowing off fireworks at 4 in the afternoon, but
Kind of defeats the
it
purpose.
happened. And they talked about water quality, and I'm real happy to report that Moose Lake, I'm not sure who's testing on a daily basis with Rangeley. I don't know how you doing that. No. You know anybody, Keith, who's testing Rangeley Lake?
We do it on a weekly basis just as a kind of a practice session as a swim area. And we haven't had any.
Yeah, are you doing it in the town park?
Correct.
Yeah, that makes some sense. But Moose Lake has, water quality is still up. They have not, I'll come to you, Mark. They have not identified any invasive aquatic species other than what's already here and has been here for hundreds of years, native, if you will. So those are good reports, good attendance and whatnot. You had a comment, Mark?
Oh, I was just curious, back to the stuff Tracy has, I was just curious if that was time-sensitive material that required your action tonight, or if that was something you could take.
Oh, you in a hurry? Oh, good. I don't know. I've sat next to you for a while, so we'll be you. You're all right.
You're welcome, I apologize.
Friday, August 17th.
Don't you want
This
to-
time.
2 seconds, 1 second.
Yeah, time sensitive.
Trip show. Thank you. All right. So we can go with MMA's suggestions, John, is that it on this first page?
Yeah, there's an option if you want to nominate somebody else, but most towns would go with their nomination. They appoint a nomination committee every year.
Okay.
Vote for one, there's only one. Vote for three, there's only three.
Yeah. We'll look at the others.
It won't be right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the Maine Municipal Association voting ballot for Vice President, 1-year term Christine Lands, and the Executive Committee members for 3-year terms Elaine Allows, William Brigio, and Melissa Doan.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Good. You're that.
Do you want to sign it, or do you want to appoint me, authorize me to sign it? Send it in.
I move we let the town manager sign it.
Second.
Any
Okay.
questions?
No.
All in favor? There you go. Brookfield Renewable Contract Fish Cream. John?
Just to let you know that someone from Brookfield, the woman that called me, she's gonna be here because they have a mill dam project on next Tuesday, and she wanted to meet with us next Wednesday morning. So Keith and I will be there if anybody else is interested, but August 15th to discuss the fish screen. So she said they have some information, we have some information, maybe after the meeting we'll figure out who actually owns the thing. So that's what it's gonna be about. It's just for your information that, because somebody had mentioned here when we talked about this a few weeks ago, that Brookfield may own it.
Thank you. John, as I spoke with you today about this thing, there's some signs on there that say, do not enter. I'm not sure what the signs say, but it's been a request that came to me that the platform that walks out and across is fine. It's the wheel and the crank in the front of the screen that's dangerous. And for years and years and years, back when Dennis and I and Kathy and all were little kids, we fished off that thing all the time. And there is wondering why we can't allow people to walk across that right now. Do you feel it's dangerous to walk on it? Are there boards that are,
Haven't inspected it closely, but
no, I meant behind you, I'm sorry,
So,
Kathy.
I apologize. For my review, within that last repair process, some of those hemlock boards that obviously are the decking, there are a few that are, I'll say, are spongy or weak. There is no middle span throughout those. Granted, it's only 6 foot, and obviously, probably the metal girders or I-beams probably span 4 foot, but the middle has no support in regards to that. Not every board obviously is fine, but there are sections that feel weak. Will you go through? I'm uncertain of that. And I think the other part of that is the liability of if one is to fall into the water, with any kind of pressure on that high water level, pushing you back against the screen, and I think it's just in that case, I think it's a potential liability for the town without a railing. Granted, I know it's been used for years, but I think in today's age, with the way society seems to be with lawsuits and everything, I think we'd have to be careful of ourselves in regard to what we allow. It's my 2 cents on that.
Well, we do live in a litigious society, but
It ain't what it used to be.
what would it cost us to fix the spongy boards? Because there's never been a gate on that thing, on either side of it. You could fish both sides without any encumbrances whatsoever. You could jump into the water, which we've done hundreds of years.
I don't feel it would be relatively, very, very expensive, excuse me. I'll get something worked out for the next meeting. We can, for a number, figure out how many boards maybe need to be replaced and what the best approach is for that, if that's acceptable.
Comments?
No, that works.
All right, thank you. I'll try to be there for that on the 15th, John. And,
Yeah, it's at 9 o'clock
Yep,
here or in my office, depending on who shows up.
okay. Anything under downtown revitalization? Thank you. Single stream recycling. Looks like somebody's back on the hook. Keith, is that you?
At the last meeting, you asked that Keith be here, and maybe he could give you some insight. I did sign this agreement for a year with Casellas. It's a motion you made last time, but if you want to do something early, we have a 60-day provision in the contract that either side can get out of the contract. So just keep that in mind.
Good. Any questions for Keith?
I don't know, should we hold a public informational meeting regarding the changes in the?
I think given the public's input, obviously initially for the request of maintaining single sort or recycling of some sort, I think on top of that, given the market the way it is, and information that I was consolidated from Casella, from Waste Management, in regards to what the waste stream consists of now, in regards to their acceptable materials that they're taking. So a lot of our product that we put into single stream is not accepted, or ultimately is accepted here in Rangeley, but is taken down to the next, it's like Norwich Walk or Portland, and is taken out of our stream, processed through, and either burned or landfilled. So that's most of your plastics, other than it's 1, 2, and 7. Don't quote me on that. Mixed paper has no value currently, so that's taken out. And same idea, landfilled and burned. Glass, there is no value in glass. So through all those flyers that encourage those items to be put into the recycling stream, there is absolutely their placeholder. They take up actually their cost to us based on tonnage. One way or the other, we're going to get charged for it. At this point right now, given again the market, our waste stream is cheaper to process and put through than our recyclables are. So that's one part of that. Also with the transfer station, currently right now shingles, with Manzer being bought out by Pike, Manager used to take our shingles and add it to the hot top mix. They no longer do that, so that cost has also gone up significantly to dispose of, or to transport and dispose of. So I think we need to definitely, through public, is some new education of numbers that we currently are paying and tipping fees and tonnage, and probably readdress that plan as to how we want to pursue recycling and the future of that facility.
Especially since the cost has increased so much. I mean,
There is no, obviously, decrease anytime in the near future with the market the way it is. And obviously with how China's operating and the way it, cost of fuel and everything, we're gonna just see, I think, a further increase in cost. And obviously our surroundings, our neighbors, Kingfield, Carabasset, a lot of those individuals are just parting with that process, just putting things in the waste stream.
Yes, Tony?
Just to remind everybody, I don't remember when it was, but a few years ago, we had an ordinance for recycling. And it went to town meeting, and it passed. Then they got a petition up a month or two later to have another town meeting and revote this, and it failed. So now we're back to square one again, and we luckily went single stream, which worked out fine as long as we could get rid of the stuff that they were hauling off. And now apparently the price has gone down, what they can get for this stuff. But do we want to keep bouncing back and forth is the question between. I mean, people really like single stream. So, if we want to do something else, that's fine, but.
So just to piggyback off that, I think it still could be an avenue to take. I think it's just a matter of policing what we put into the stream. Reducing maintaining that footprint of recycling and that direction, but kind of reducing the unwanteds. So what it does to us as a town is if the more contaminants, that's what they're calling those items now, is they have to process them out. They're handling them for no reason because they're getting landfilled and burned. So it's a process that we're getting charged for, not only on tonnage, but through that handling fee. So maybe we look at just a matter of revising what we're taking as a single sort item.
Make a hybrid.
Or, in all honesty, there's a lot more research involved into it, but to go back to where we were before, I know it's more time consuming for an individual, whether it's a homeowner or a taxpayer or for their staff, but you're putting a product out there that's a lot cleaner and it's more marketable. Now, do we have the ability to handle all that and push it somewhere? That's part of our direction we have to research for sure, along with a bunch of other, I think, operational needs up there.
Larry?
I really think we need to have since we voted for this on referendum to go single stream a couple of years ago, we should really consider reconsideration with a public hearing on our solid waste sometime in the next 60 days to retake. I think, Darby, I understand what you're saying, but this could change year to year based on market. Yeah, you may do it one way this year, and 2 years later do it some other way. I mean, we're all dealing with that every day, but we need to do what's best for our environment, most affordable for our town, and for our waste.
But my worry is that in 2 years, they'll be getting more for the stuff, and we should have stayed with, I don't know, 6 to 1.
It all depends on the cost of the plant.
But people really like the single stream, that's the deal.
Yeah, throw it in and let's go, but it may not be.
Right, understand.
I don't know, I think a public hearing is in order.
Yeah.
Did it before. Let's see
I'm willing to try it.
what Keith has got to present to the public hearing as our public works director and see how our town wants to go.
Or if we can take the best of both of them and kind of make one.
Hybrid consumption. Dennis, you next.
I mean, I think Larry's hit upon something where is that maybe we need to be looking more at preparing the taxpayers for, and educating them as to, may have to adapt and change as time goes on, because one day you're gonna recycle plastics because they're gonna be good, the next day you're gonna be worth nothing.
Right.
So what's the best system to set up to do that kind of changing back and forth? Cardboard is always usually pretty good, you can get rid of that, but if you contaminate that with plastic or glass that they can't use, then all of a sudden your cardboard board is worth nothing. So we've got to educate the people that this is a changing thing that's going on. And I think that's our big challenge, because people are gonna think you went to single stream, everything go together, and now we gotta separate, you know. And they'll get out of frustration, but if we educate them to why this is happening, and then maybe they'll understand better and be more flexible, changing as we go.
Yep.
Well, we do separate cardboard anyway, so.
Yep.
No, I know we don't. It actually goes in with
Yeah.
That's not separate, everything's
single
together.
sort.
Well, they don't throw any stuff in there with it.
Everything that you put in, so whether I police it or Rich polices it or yourself, cardboard, anything alike that's recyclable goes into that container. So if there's no policing, so like Dennis says, if there's contaminants on some mixed plastic that goes in, somebody didn't rinse out, all of a sudden your load becomes contaminated.
One day I went in there was a vacuum in there.
So there's, of course, there's a lot of things that they don't
In the
want.
box.
There's components of which are
Really?
recyclable. But if we don't police ourselves at home to rinse out items or
Yeah.
to verify we're putting a good product in, again, we contaminate the whole load. Now, there is a possibility through Casella or Waste Management that they can kick that whole load back to, or I say back to us, but they'll charge us for the tipping, for the tonnage. And if they ship it off and they don't accept it at the next facility, we pay that fee and then some again. That's again, because of that kind of public education
Yep.
and policing ourselves and knowing the market and what we want in our stream to put out.
Yes, Mark?
And when you revisit this, John had solicited price quotes from different waste vendors, and for whatever reason, Archie's, which was the lowest one, was dismissed almost immediately because they didn't think he'd guarantee his prices over a long term. And I think when you revisit this, you should look at these again. I've done a lot of business with Archie's over the last 2 decades, and I've had a great working relationship with them. I mean, I'm not a municipal landfill, but I just think we should give it a little more time and see what you can negotiate with them.
Thank you. Yes, Joe?
I think it was more, the citizens are accustomed to single sort,
Yeah.
and Archie's contract would have gone back to the way you used to recycle before. So everybody would have been having to sort all the material out that was going to go to Archie. He was by far the lowest cost, because he was then gonna market all those commodities like we do in Rumford and Mexico. You know, we've already taken in half a year, $60,000 in recycling revenue. So the market's still there. It fluctuates up and down on all the different commodities. The single sort is being rejected,
Yeah.
and that's why our price for that is like $80 a ton. And it only costs us $69 to send it to Norwich Walk, as well as a lot less cost hauling it there. So that's what you're looking at now. The single sort has gotten so messy that China is, not taking it anymore and dealing with it, and that's why it's so expensive, because, like Keith said, we stand to pay double, I think, with Casella if we have a contaminated lot that they just decide is too contaminated, we're just gonna ship it off to a landfill. Then we have to pay the landfill on top of what we've already sent to Casella, so.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just think maybe with Larry, we go to a public hearing, lay out the facts. Here's what it's cost if we stay the way we're doing it. Here's the cost if we do it the other way. And let it out there and let the people decide what they want to do.
And Richard present, because some of our equipment is antiquated, some of it may not work for,
Yep.
we gotta look at that whole cost, not just the
Oh, yeah.
cost of shipping. What's our setup cost gonna be to accomplish?
Yeah.
We all agree, public hearing?
Yep. Let's set a date.
Let's set a date. Tracy, is that the big calendar you're telling me you're gonna have?
This one.
It's all the wall space that I have to provide.
All right.
There's a lot of dots there.
Are we going 30 days or 60 days? If we're going 60, let's fix it for Wednesday the 3rd of October.
Works for me.
Everybody good with that?
No, I gotta find my calendar.
Why so late?
Stand by. Check, you can, yes.
Well, if it's,
hold on.
so we've got 60 days to cancel.
Yeah, and either side can call the other person or write to them and say, we're gonna cancel this in 60 days.
Yeah.
So it could be.
That's a very pessimistic point of view to start off with, getting the public together. We're gonna cancel on you as soon as we.
Well,
Yeah, we gotta do it before the 60 days.
before the 60 days, we need to do it before the 60 days if
Yeah.
the public is,
At any time during the 1-year contract,
yeah,
we can notify them that we're
typically
not
don't.
gonna do this.
okay.
But we have to give them 60
Right,
days
oh,
notice.
60 days
Let's,
for
let's be
one.
real clear. We're not focusing on the contract. We're talking about education for the public.
Right.
So if we get this in front of the public within 60, you wanna go 30 days? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I don't know if that gives Keith enough time to,
I'll make it work.
I want to give you 60 days. And the reason being, we got to get through this summer. And granted, everybody has to participate if they can, but we're really talking about year-round residents who utilize the transfer station. That's going to impact them the most, not to diminish seasonal land
I think there's a
homeowners.
lot, obviously there's a lot more to discuss throughout that facility itself, I think, in that meeting. So obviously, which would incorporates into single stream and our wage stream.
Yeah.
I think, and how we process that and how we charge for that is another another discussion we should have at the same time.
is that, so would you be incorporating scales and the cost to purchase scales?
I know it's been visited again, but you look at how we're billed versus how we validate people's loads. We go off volume, and we're getting charged as we leave the facility off tonnage. We have no way to verify if we're being charged accurately on a load. And then obviously, when you come down to this brush discussion, or the shingles, or a mixed load of debris from a contractor, you start to really hone in on what's coming in the facility, how much you should charge per per item, excuse me. I think it just helps in the process altogether, because it really helps you to, again, visualize what we're processing through and where those fees should be made up.
Yeah. So does 2 months give you enough time to put a presentation together for the public?
I think, absolutely, I think we can, with what's already generated in files, what's been discussed already, without trying to reinvent the wheel and working with Rick, I think we can put something together.
And in that presentation, we can also discuss our current contract and how this impacts us for the future. So there's some comparables as we go forward.
Correct.
Are you good with that?
Yeah, John's already, just like what you presented at the last meeting, and then, but it's the change, it's the shingles, the weight of those that, that we no longer, that we're now going to have to pay for. That was a huge service, man.
Finish up on that. If you look at shingles, you look at bulky waste in general. What we accept in a bulky bin, wood debris versus sheetrock versus anything in it that has a different bulk, different weight.
Yeah.
We're not,
4 yards of shingles was a lot different than 4 yards of insulation.
absolutely. So we're not charging anybody effectively or efficiently or fairly across the board.
Any other comments?
October 3rd.
Yes, Dennis?
Just wondering, out of this meeting that you're gonna have, there should be some important things. There should be all the options discussed and some good information on the options. And then there also should be a recommendation, so leadership to show the recommendation, this is what we should do. Maybe it's going back to the way we did it. We had a better handle on it when we did it before, because now we were separating everything. Now, the only thing that would change now, if we did that same thing, is that those people at the transfer station, let's just take glass for instance. This month, glass is getting you nothing. So they just pick up the glass that's been separated out, and they dump it in the landfill dumpster. And it goes to the landfill because it's not worth anything as a recyclable. And they can adjust those things. Cardboard is usually always a net win. You can usually always get stuff for cardboard. But some of those others, they're up and down, up and down. And the guys up there, if they had that stuff separated more, they could control where it goes and which dumpster it goes in and what we pay for it. But right now, you can't, with that all stuff together in one. These guys down there are just saying contaminated, the whole thing's no good. So what we're doing is basically moot by having those two things up there. All it is we're putting the same thing in each one, because most of those, probably most of the time, are going to the landfill.
Thank you.
And we're paying more.
Yep,
October 3rd?
October 3rd.
There's an ordinance committee meeting, but we can work around.
No, let's not screw anything up that's already organized. What does Tuesday the
Second.
2nd look like?
I don't see anything. A little
I don't
dots.
have the game schedule out. There tends to be games on Tuesdays because it's early release, but, if I can't make it, I can't make it.
No,
Now,
we need to hear.
Well, they usually have the school sports calendar, and I'm linked in
I'm
with the
surprised they're
school.
going to school tomorrow, aren't they?
And the fall sports don't start for another week and a half,
No.
but they don't have any games in the school calendar, and they usually have them in by now.
All right, well, let's tentatively set it for the 2nd of October, 2nd of October, we'll get this thing moving
6
along.
o'clock?
I gotta get it out to the public.
Like we always get it out to the public, it'll be posted, do all the due diligence we've done before. Yep. Can we hang signs at your place of business since everybody goes to a Corsica Lane?
No,
Okay.
you know,
Anything, John, on this? You good?
Yeah, I mean, post the meeting because it is a major thing that's gonna have an impact.
Absolutely.
For a long time to
Agreed.
come. so.
All right. Discuss, yes, I'm sorry, Tricia.
Do you want it here or at the school?
I think it needs to be at the school. We have to prepare ourselves,
That's very
multi-tech.
tentative until I check with the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
we've
why-
got
that's why
time,
I
but you
asked.
know we're shooting for 2 months. That gives Keith a directive, and if we can't do it till the 2nd week of October, he still has his parameters and come back with the proper full dates. Anything else on single stream? New business. Assessing RFP. Need a motion.
Can I,
John,
talk
go
about it
ahead.
for a minute?
Yep.
Everything in here is what's in the current contract that we have with the assessor, except what we have currently is that the assessor's supposed to be here 2 days a week. And then another 1 day a week to work on up to 25% of all the property cards. So that each year he's reviewing 25% of the properties to keep them up to date. So I know while Cindy was still chairman, she thought, do we really need an assessor here that often? So I tend to agree, haven't seen how they work in other towns. So what I did was I had Rebecca retype into this to provide 2 designated days per week as needed at the town office for scheduled meetings with taxpayers, and to perform any other necessary assessing functions at least 1 day per week expected. So you're looking at this time of year when tax bills go out, that's when you're most likely to have taxpayers, especially when you have an increase, want to talk to the assessor, like, how come my taxes went up? And that might be, people, there may be more of a need for 1 or 2 days a week now for the next month or two. But the rest of the year, I don't know where you need to have somebody there. And it's not like you're doing a full revaluation,
Right.
because he's doing 25% a year. So I got a feeling with that worded that way, that you may end up getting a significant reduction in bids, because to only have to come here at least 1 day a week on an annual basis rather than 3, there's gonna be a lot less hotel costs, or, meals costs, things like that you'll get as part of the contract, and you'll have to reimburse them for those kind of expenses, so. I got a feeling that,
Makes sense to me.
might save you a few dollars.
Just a couple of points of clarification. This 25% is a rotating 25%. Shoreland 1 year, downtown the next year. Those just examples. And I want to thank Cindy and John, because Cindy brought this to John's attention so we could rewrite it. Good move, good thought, good catch. Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the request for proposal for tax assessor services as presented.
Second.
Any other discussion? Yes, John?
Just, I want to thank Rebecca also because she actually typed all this up based on what we do currently. So
Yep, thank you.
I'm very grateful that it's not here anymore.
Yep. Yes.
I was on the board years ago when we did that 25% thing. That was basically to try to prevent reevaluations. The costs are so expensive, and if we figured that if the assessors could do at least 25% in 4 years, everything would be continually keep updated. So I think it's a good idea, but let's just make sure that he's getting, let's have a, quality control to make sure that that 25% is getting done every year.
It's part of the contract that
Yeah.
gets evaluated each year, yes. Yep. Good point. All right, hearing, seeing nothing else, all those in favor? Okay, thank you, it's a vote. HR consultant contract.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the HR consultant contract for services with Annalee Rosenblatt.
Second.
Questions? John, anything, any input?
We've had Annalee for several years now, and I think for the most part, everybody's pleased to have her on board, so. I've never had the luxury of having one in the towns I've managed, but, I think she provides a valid function to the town.
Keeps us out of trouble.
I think you're right.
Been incredibly helpful during the
Oh,
union
wicked negotiations.
negotiations.
Well, I don't want to be the one who's going to cast some cold water on this, but I got a couple questions. This contract is from September 1, 2018, and will terminate August 31st of 2020. We're in the search for a new town manager, and as John pointed out, most town managers don't have the luxury of this particular service. This isn't to say that I don't agree the service is important and valuable, but I'm wondering, I'm just putting it out there that maybe with the new town manager, the service won't be necessary as opposed to the way it is right this minute. Doesn't mean I'm not going to vote for the contract. I just want you to know that I have some thoughts about this in terms of who we hire for a new town manager.
I think that's a valid point. It was the former town manager who asked for this service. So it's, certainly is possible that the next town manager, but that's the reason why we got Annalee on board.
Yep.
For several reasons.
I do agree that Annalee brings, this particular individual brings an awful lot of salient points and some good leadership to this role, but I do want to stress that as we look at a new town manager, that may be a task we want in that person for the future. So, that being said, Donnie?
I just would argue that a lot of towns now have H&R people outside the company. So,
There's a lot of turmoil that happens in the town, and we have an impartial person from outside, and I think that's really important. It's done tremendous value over the last 4 years.
and she's worth the price we're paying her just for the union negotiation, let alone the rest of it.
Okay. John?
When I became a town manager in 1978, nobody ever heard of HR. Entirely different
It's a different word.
world, and.
Please don't take any of this personally.
And, I
At all.
got out of town management for about 12 years between 1992 and 2005.
Yep.
And I was surprised how many laws had changed dealing with personnel issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And very, very amazing. I mean, state level, federal level, you name it, it's very complicated. Where in the past it wasn't complicated at all. It wasn't even an issue. So, I had a lot to learn. So, most town managers in larger towns have an HR person doing this all. Probably, anywhere from Rumford size up. Probably most town managers in smaller towns have to do it themselves. But it all depends on what kind of experience the town manager is going to have that you're able to hire. Because somebody that's brand new isn't gonna have any, or a whole lot of experience in public human resource law, that's for sure. So,
Great.
Very complex.
Thank you, John. Dennis, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just telling you, I think they're worth their money because majority of your lawsuits that you have with town are personnel issues, and a lot of those could be averted at the beginning if you have good direction.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
No other comments? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? It is a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Rangeley Water District proposal rate increase. We do have the esteemed Al Clinch here to talk about this. Want to give us a little rundown?
Keith is going to start, and I can answer questions. Keith is on the board of trustees.
Replace that page.
All right, thank you.
That's, lately it's been a lot of hats, so
He wears them well.
Steve, can I just mention what we just gave you first?
Yeah, what we just handed out is the Rangeley Water District legal notice. Rangeley Water District gives notice to the public that on the 21st of August, there will be a meeting at 15 Vernon Bean Way in Rangeley at 5:30. Trustees of the Rangeley Water District will hold a public hearing to discuss the hearing and hear comments on a proposed water rate increase. Before I get into this is the first increase in 11 years.
correct.
All right, I will just preface all this by saying my comment to Al Clinch was, my feeling is the Rangeley Water District's got to do this in increments in the future, not wait 11 years, because this is a big jump. So here you go. Residential, effective October 1st, 2018. The increase is 17.75%, interest, an increase of $29,324. It goes up again in 19. Commercial is 16.18% increase for a total of 9,760. Goes up 13 and change, almost 14% in 19. Government, 39.55% increase, $3,468. Goes up 13.76 the following year. Other revenues minus, I'll let them all explain this thing. Essentially boils down to an overall increase of 11.71%, $45,272. Fire protection this first year goes up $826. I'm not quite sure what that one means, but it's 15.85. Fire protection, which is the hydrant part, correct? Yes. All right, 21.50%. Change of $22,933. There is an asterisk, which means it's effective July 1st of 2019, because it is not in our budget process. Am I correct on that one?
Yes,
Right.
an amendment to that, so yes.
Yep. The following year, it's 12.89%, goes up $16,701, for a total of $16,701. Do you want me to read this, or do you want to just describe the remaining part of this? Do you think it's effective? Which?
I think you're being effective.
Okay, absolutely. Fire protection rates are determined pursuant to Chapter 69 of the Public Utilities Commission rules. The public fire protection charge is the first step. Has an effective date July 1st, 2019. The district plans to request a limited waiver of the requirements of Chapter 69, Section 7 of the rule, and seek the Commission's approval pursuant to 35A MRSA 309(2) when it makes its rate filing. Metered and private fire protection rates are to become effective October 1st, 2018 and October 1st of 2019. Since its last adjustment was in 2007, the district has been incurring continuous increases in operating and maintenance costs, and they will be borrowing for the project on Allen Street for mains, hydrants, and residential services. These rates are all increased by the same amounts and have same minimums for each class. The rates may show higher percentage increases because of the recalculation of the governmental 2-inch meter minimum charge and the restructuring of seasonal rate charges to conform to standards used within the state. Pursuant to the MRSA 35, Section 6104, a customer has the right to request additional information relating to the present and proposed rates from the district, the right to an open and fair hearing, and the right to assistance from the public advocate. Customers also have the right, under the same section, to petition the Maine Public Utilities Commission to suspend and investigate the district's rates pursuant to 35A MRSA Section 310. If, on or before August 20th, 2018, 73 of the district customers, 15% of the customers of 1,000 customers, whichever is less, file with the Rangeley Water District Superintendent, Albert Clinch, and with the Public Utilities Commission, Administrative Director of the State House, and so on and so forth. Everybody's available to see this thing, so if you have a problem, you can do that. A copy of the material supporting the proposed rate change will be available to Rangeley Water District offices for inspection since July 23rd of this year, and will be available on or after August 2nd of 2018 for an amended rate filing. If you have any questions, give Al Clinch a call, and the number's here on the bottom. We'll make this sheet available. Go ahead, Al, or excuse me, Keith.
All right, so just to kind of piggyback off what Steve said, obviously, we see that the first review of this, obviously, the filed was a proposed rate increase of actually a lot more significant increase, excuse me. The initial process included like a 43.72% increase, but realizing that number was unrealistic, Al and Barbara at the watershed, went back to the processes following our meeting and looked at this proposal instead, where it's a two-step increase, which would end up being up at around 24.6%. So, yes, it's a significant increase. Does make it build revenue. It helps with the budgeting process. That through changeover in superintendent, obviously we see that there was an 11-year span where there was no rate adjustment. That can be seen good or bad based on needs of the budget and the department. Clearly, in this case, it was overlooked, how we were operating. So I will say with the new trustees and Al as superintendent, now we've got back on track. We're operating in a positive budget. So this intention is to continue that process. And obviously, with Al's hopeful future is reassessing rates at a 3 to 5 year rate, look at those as needed. But with the projects that the town's interest right now, Allen Street in particular, obviously that's a significant cost to the district. And with this rate increase, obviously we look at the future and try to better work with the town and other projects and try to build upon those so that future rate increases, won't be as drastic.
From the board, comments, questions?
Well, it's gonna cost the town for public fire protection another $39,000 once this is done, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying around 100 now,
Yeah, 106,
so
661.
it's over, it's almost 45,000 after both of these.
Yeah, after both. 45.
So the financials.
$39,634.
Yep. Anything, Dave?
No, I mean, if questions would be at the meeting, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So that'd be the appropriate time to ask.
As a selectman, I have a couple of concerns. I expressed this with Al the other day when I was talking to him about this, and I'm glad to see you readjusted this thing as you said you were going to do, because yes, I'm worried about the hydrant costs. Yes, I'm worried about governmental and other But I'm very concerned about people on fixed incomes that all of a sudden now are being slammed, or going to be slammed with a significant increase in the residential aspect of this thing. So again, my encouragement is, and yeah, on one hand, you didn't raise your rates for 11 years, that's great, except that if they're not budgeting and they're not seeing increases, then it's hard for them to plan for a big hit. So I'm not quite sure how you're all going to address that at that meeting, but my job's to look out for some of these people, and I want to make sure that their voice is heard and you hear it clearly. Again, the meeting is August 21st, 5:30 at the Water District. Mr. Coop, you had a question?
So at that point is where financial expenses, income will be exposed, and the estimated cost on the infrastructure improvements.
Did you hear the question?
Something that would be available prior to the meeting so we could be knowledgeable about.
You can actually go to the PUC and download our packet that we put in. It'll give you all the information of where we got our numbers and what our numbers are gonna be.
Okay, so your current operating costs,
Yes.
your current
Yep.
expenses, and your necessary acquisition costs and improvements for this Allen Street project
Yes.
would be broken down that way?
Well, no, because we haven't even applied for the loan yet. We've had an engineer give us a number, preliminary number, but it isn't set in stone.
I just know that there's certain grants, and being with the Water District of Wausau, I mean, you know, it's often that we get not often, as requested, sometimes we get funded significantly on projects like this if it has to do with community service.
Agreed. You should be at the meeting.
Well, yeah, but we want to have the information prior, so it should be somewhat.
Except the process for them, as I understand it, is to make this application to the PUC, hold the public hearing and inform, and then go out for an RFP. Mike, is that correct?
We've already hired an engineer to do give us a number, basically.
Correct. But you're still gonna go out for an RFP after to get the work done and see what their numbers are.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, they may not require that kind of an increase over 20 years to pay for the acquisition or the infrastructure improvement of Allen Street. We pay them $30,000 additional dollars per town for a long, long time. You might be better off just to do that improvement yourself.
Good points for them.
Pardon?
You had something, Donnie?
Yeah, other revenues, minus 51.88%.
That had to do with jobbing. We had a lot of work we did that isn't gonna happen anymore.
Okay, that you guys got paid to do?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And the governmental one is because of something that wasn't charged right, and now it will be fixed.
Okay,
Charging a monthly rate instead of a quarterly rate.
yeah. And Steve's point about the residential people, they're also gonna get whacked twice if you get water from the water company and then to pay for the hydrants. It's gonna be their taxes.
Oh, yeah,
are gonna
well, I
go
mean,
up.
the whole tax base is gonna get the hydrant cost.
Right, but I'm just saying, the people that get the water get
Yeah.
hit twice. But-
Just a couple of questions to the statement. The statement is on fire protection money, that increase. That is applied to the regional formula, so Rangeley's portion of that increase is only gonna be the percentage, was it 55 or 56% now of the regional
30.
formula?
Is it 30?
It's more than that.
Is that
47.
I think it's in the,
It's in the 50s, it used to be for fire protection, because the hydrants are lumped in with the fire department. My second point is that, is the town going to be working with the water company when they do this project on Allen Street Allen Street's pretty tough shape.
That was the idea, work in conjunction
Right.
and complete, replace the water main, water services, address, or look at, obviously, sewer infrastructure, under drain system, sidewalks, road reconstruction, as a group.
And my last question is, and maybe John can help, is that at some point in time, these rates keep going up, we're paying a lot for hydrant rental, but we're not getting flow checks and pressures on an annual basis from the water company so that we know the condition of the system. A lot of places, Mexico and Rumford, they do flow checks every year on the fire hydrants. And that information is provided to the town from the water company, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the, we have full-time people
I didn't know if there was plans to do that or not in this new rate increase to be able to take care of that stuff.
I don't know what they do here for that.
It's definitely something that can be addressed, absolutely. There's
that's
a lot
how
of
they
things that we're
determine
doing
how
now
much-
that we haven't done in the past, and that's actually on the list. I talked to Tim about that before he left,
Yeah.
and it's a plan.
It's good information for the fire department, because then we know the strong hydrants and the ones that flow a lot of water. Plus, when we do an ISO review with the insurance companies, we have to have that information, which is nice.
It seems to me then the fire chief has to be part of this and should be at this meeting as well. It's just my thought. I don't know how the rest of you feel about
Yeah,
this.
no, Tim talked about flow checks and, you know, all of that before, so.
Anything else?
We've already budgeted $750,000.
A little bit louder?
We already budgeted in this construction project, $750,000 for Allen Street. That must be part of the infrastructure as well.
Well, I mean, the whole Allen Street project was supposed to come before the others.
So the
but-
750 is not part of any infrastructure other than just reclaiming asphalt?
No,
No.
that would include, proposed, you know, under drain systems, some of the sidewalk reconstruction.
It's a lot.
There's a lot of, you know, actually road reconstruction, not just reclaim, but reconstruction of the road.
Right. It seems like a lot of money for a short road without
It's a long road.
service.
Honestly, if they weren't doing as much as they were doing, we wouldn't have to replace the main. They're gonna be close enough to it, it's 100-year-old main in that area.
Yeah.
When they start pounding around, it might last for a little bit, but it's going to leak, and we're gonna be digging that road
How
up
far is
within
it?
a year.
Well, they're gonna dig it up anyway, you might as well replace this.
Well, that's why we're doing it, that's,
Because you don't want to
John,
dig it
we
up
have an
again.
obligation.
John, you had something else to add?
I just wanted to make sure you knew that the sheet we passed you out replaces the sheet that was in your book.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the only difference was the 22,933, in your book, that was due to be done October 1st of 18,
Right.
and that would have left us quite a bit short from what we budgeted. So they agreed to file for a waiver with the PUC so that we're only gonna have to pay what we budgeted. And then combine the 22,000 with the 16, and that's what we'll have to increase the budget for next year. So the first year will be a waiver. That's all that asterisk indicates.
Thank you. All right. Don't forget, go to the meeting. Town managers report, department heads, anything to bring up?
A couple of things I wanted to mention. I'll be here again tomorrow, but then Wednesday and Thursday is the annual Main Town and City Managers meeting in Newry. So I'm gonna try to go to at least one of those days, but, you know, probably both. So, but I'll be here tomorrow and then at that meeting for Wednesday. And I wanted to mention that there's a pre-construction meeting for the Rangeley Boat Ramp project with Wright Pierce on August 15th at 1 p.m. So we just got that today, otherwise I would have put it in correspondence.
So we meeting with that person before or after the fish screen?
After.
Okay.
So fish screen's at 9, this one will be at 1. And one other thing I should mention, it looks like when we leave tonight it will be dark. And I haven't had a chance to look at those new lights down at the park, but we've had 2 residents concerned about it. One of them owns property there, another one lives in a condominium unit. They're concerned about that last light, the parking lot light in there. So initially I talked to the owner of the property that was concerned, and I said, well, we ought to at least wait until the lights work to see what they look like. So I would ask all of you between now and the next meeting, go down and take a look, because we may have to do something with that. But we all ought to see what it looks like before, because they cost a lot of money. And they all, my understanding from the electrician is they all shine straight down, so there shouldn't be a lot of problems, but.
Is it with one specific light, or is it?
Yeah, the last one
Oh, okay.
going toward the boat land, the boat launch area, so.
You had something?
No, also.
Okay.
So.
You, I will get, I'll get right to you. You have anything else here? John, you all set? Kathy, go right ahead.
So in the interest of full disclosure, I'm that owner,
Oh.
and I've made a formal complaint to the town regarding the light pollution that's down there and the construction of the project. You have lights over lights. Where there were no lights there before, there are now 8. And the surface ones are bright enough to leave shadows on my bedroom wall, and then the additional 14 footers that went out now shine over those lights. And it's across the parking lot, the bathhouse lights are on, and the 4 surface lights are on. So it's a total redundancy, and there's a CMP light that shines over one of the 14 footers. So you have all this lightage going on for the park that's supposed to close at 10. The timers aren't on. There was no plan to put timers in originally, and so we waited to see what it's going to look like. But that one that was placed in front of me actually vibrates pretty substantially with a light wind, and that one, although it's supposed to shine down, does not, and the light pollution does come into my house. I'd be more than happy to take you down afterwards and show you. In addition, the other light pole that I'm assuming is not getting another CMP light on it was now moved because of the loss of cost, budget, and so now it was supposed, those lines were supposed to be buried, and now the pole has been moved over right in sight. So we have a pole with a pole, and then we have these 4 poles that go down, plus the bathroom lightage and the surface lighting, all in a small space. And it doesn't, so far, I've noticed that somebody's coming down at odd times and shut it off. Like one night it was 10:40, another night it stayed on for most of the night. And so you got a lot of lights. You need some, you need that pole to get down to the boat ramp, but it's overdue, and I don't know how much it's costing the town, but the design of it, the whole plan and the design of the lighting is totally skewed for the surface. I happen to be, and I know the condo owners on the corner, because it reflects in their condo also, but I'm the one residential person down there adversely impacts. And I've noticed that at night there's been more activity, because I think as the lights are on, people are coming down, you can see around, and it totally changes the light pollution. In fact, you can see from my house sits up, so I'm looking directly out at the lights, but the surface lights are a lot more lightage than I think the design was called for.
So your issues, as I hear it, are the poles, location, light pollution, and schedule of lights on and off. What's going on with that? Correct?
Correct, from a structural piece, yes. And then you have I'm happy to report, I've got lots of footage, but I'm happy to report that the geese really like that new ramp, because now they walk up to my property and the church and on down to the street. And the erosion, it still continues to be there despite the reconstruction of that piece. It's after the last rain, it just washed right out again. So right down into that one area. And I'm concerned, I know we're checking for water sampling, but I'm finding that the surface that they use under the playground, and the geese, when they come up and poop, that does not get sucked up, so that's there. So my question to the town is, would you do some soil sampling? Because anecdotally, what I'm hearing from townspeople is that they're not letting the kids go down and swim because of the duck ditch and the geese and the stuff on the soil. So all, I think worsened by the drainage issue. After the last drain, it was just a swamp down there. And he said then they're all morning eating grass and pooping all the way up. So I think there's pieces that still need to be addressed, but I would say the lighting from both my perspective and the neighbor, that has a huge impact on our property.
All right, thank you, Ken. John, you have anything else to add to that? You've got to continue to work with.
No, Keith is gonna call CMP, the one light that remains on the pole by the bathhouse, we're gonna ask them to remove that one. That's the old street light. So I think that was intended to come down anyway. And, we did actually talk about when we do the project by the boat ramp, there is no light down there. Maybe we could use that light down there to light up the boat ramp. I'm sure there's people that try to, come in off the lake after dark, and might be up with a headlight down there.
Yeah, you can see them trying to come in, and there's no light. You can see the car over on our side, but coming in, there's just no light, and they're trying to get in and after dark, and it's difficult.
Mhm.
And we have talked with the electrician about installing a timer and, gotta figure out what a reasonable time is to shut those lights off. If the park's supposed to close at 10, then we should probably shut them off shortly after that, I imagine.
And I'm not sure at the
Maybe
back.
that's the person that's been down. Keith would know. Has he been down to actually install a timer yet?
Not to this date that I know of. I've been in contact, just to kind of go along with this conversation, I've been in contact with Wes. Some of these issues have been, I wouldn't say necessarily addressed, but have been in conversation. In regards to the 14-foot street lamp on the right-hand side, furthest to the right, and in front of Kathy's view, we did discuss an option of installing a bollard light at that point instead, in replace of, and utilizing that 14-footer by the boat. Just so you're aware, obviously, those bollard lights are roughly just over $1,000 a piece. And then there's it's a very large time frame, because the street lights took, or the lanterns took about 12 to 14 weeks to get here. And then the bollards are roughly probably 8 to 12 weeks. Just so it's forecasted out there in a corrective action. Again, the timer has been discussed, and the replacement of that pole and the CMP, to reiterate what John said, the CMP having removed that street lamp at the cul-de-sac portion. And then we're aware, obviously, of the redundancy of lights. So we hope to address all those. But I also am in fear at the same time, and unless we address the security system again, if we don't leave some light on at that point, you open yourself up one way or the other for either, obviously with lighting, for more activity, or without lighting for potential activity and vandalism.
I would question the number of occurrences of vandalism, like say in the last 4 years since I've owned the property. I'm not aware, and the traffic down there, so I guess I'd like to look at the numbers before we make that. The other question is the lighting around the bathhouse. The bathhouse closes when the lifeguard goes off, so it is not open to the public at all, but the lighting stays on all night. So that's my other question, is why are we lighting the bathhouse internally as well as underneath the canopy for something that isn't there? Lots of people come down to use it and think it's open, it's not open, and so sometimes they'll sneak around the back and
Okay, Kathy, this is what we'll do. We're gonna have it on our next agenda. I'm gonna request that my colleagues take a ride down, view it, so that we're prepared, and that Keith and John will come back to us with some recommendations of how we move forward. And those recommendations, if you would like to send us something in paper to tell us what your thoughts are.
I outlined in a formal complaint, the outline of the issues, asking questions of the town to address them, and what we have in place to address those issues. Lots of footage and pictures of the different times, and video that certainly could use to help us.
All right.
John already has that.
The complaint.
I don't have a formal complaint. I have my notes from when we talked on the
Yeah,
phone.
for some reason your email kept bouncing back, but John, the code enforcement officer, has it.
Oh, he has
He
it.
did get it, because I got a receipt from him and saying, yes, he has it. So I can give you a hard copy.
I'll see if I can get a copy
I
from him.
used the email address, the town manager, and it bounced back.
Kathy, I'm gonna ask you to get all of those housekeeping duties for them later, but thank you for bringing it up to us. Okay? Is there something new to add, Dennis?
Yes, just one short comment. Years ago, and I think there's one sign to the left, there was always a sign at each end of the park, one over on Lake Street and one down on the Park Road, that said the park is closed at 10 o'clock. I think the sign at the Lake Street is gone, and I don't know if the sign on the other end is still there or not.
Okay,
But it used to say, per the selectmen, the park is closed at 10 o'clock.
okay, thank
That
you.
might help you with some liability issues.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kathy. Let's see, anything else with department head updates, John?
No, just what's in your packet. We did receive the fire chiefs. We have this one for you. That's not in your packet. So what's in that section is 3 pages of road work estimates from the Public Works Department.
Yep.
This would go along with that. So, this is top of Hyatt Road, bottom of Hyatt Road, Pickford Road, and Bald Mountain Road, so these are all,
Hold on, before you get to that, we're not down there. For department head updates, we'll get down to the Ball Mountain Hyatt Road. That's right down the agenda after we resolve the calendar.
okay, I'm sorry, I have it in
Thought he
You
was
see
done.
something different?
No, I thought he was done with department head updates. Yeah, he handed out the fire chief
Okay,
and,
very good. I just want to make sure we're
Yeah.
done with department heads.
yeah.
Next is a calendar. We've got some issues coming up with the calendar, Labor Day holiday and whatnot. So here's my proposal for the next 4 meetings. Because of the Labor Day issue and how it bumps us out, so let me be real specific. Labor Day now takes us, if we go the following week and do the 2 weeks after that and go regular time in October, we will have 2 meetings in 2 weeks. Not necessary in my opinion. So what I'm suggesting, because of the way the calendar breaks, is September 10th and September 24th. That gets us out of the Labor Day issue. And because of October having 1, 2, 3, 4 solid weeks, it'll still give us plenty of time to get all our work done. We do the 8th and the 22nd, which is the second effective Monday, and the 3rd, still allowing another week break before we get into the November timeframe. So just to paraphrase again, or reiterate, 10 and 24 for September, and 8 and 22 for October. If I don't hear any complaints, that's what I'd like to, yes,
I think Columbus Day is October 8th, and then it's also a holiday.
Do it Tuesday.
It is.
well, so much for that, Ron. Geez, we worked so hard on that this afternoon, and we should have called Tracy in.
Tuesday the 11th, keep it, just keep it in the same
I guess
rhythm.
we're just gonna have to leave October the way it was, 1 and 15. That means we're gonna have a meeting in September on the 24th, and then we're gonna have a meeting, excuse me, I'm looking at July, what else, September? 24th is the last one, last week, and then we'll have a meeting the following week.
can't you meet on Tuesday instead of Labor Day?
I don't, to me, Monday's a screwy day, but they all wanted to do it, so here we are.
I mean, that would keep everything else the way it's supposed to be.
So if we did Tuesday the 9th?
Are we agreed with September?
October.
Let's just do September. We all agree with September being 10 and 24?
24.
All right, September, we can put that one away, guys and gals?
Yep.
Tracy, you all right with that? No, I'm not being facetious. I want to make sure we're not missing something. In October, we can meet, instead of the 8th, let's meet the, what the hell day is that? The 11th? 11th, and then go to the 22nd.
The 9th.
The 9th.
The 9th is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday the 9th. Change that to the 9th. Perfect. 9 and 22, we good? All right, if we could have something in our packets to reflect that next time, so we have that down as our dates. You all set with that?
All set with that?
Dave?
Good.
Thank you. Other business, estimates of materials needed by PWD for Ball Mountain, Hyatt, and Pickford Roads. Go ahead, John.
All right, so this is Earl's estimates of the material cost for the public works portion of those 3 projects. And just wanted to, all the wages for that will come out of public works. It's budgeted under wages, so it's not a specific cost, it's just material cost. And he hopes to be able to get the majority of this completed this construction season, so. The major plan for Ball Mountain.
Hold on, John.
Yeah.
Let's get Annalee straight here so we can.
I'm sorry, I'm helping with the email, so I'm sorry.
Okay, John, go ahead.
The plan for Bald Mountain Road is there's two big culverts that would have to be replaced next season. And so we would only do our work this year up to those culverts. And that's what that handout was. You know, if we stayed, 30, 40 feet away from those culverts, and then leave the pavement there existing for the remainder of the year, and then next year, after those big culverts are replaced, then we can finish the paving on that road. So this is definitely a 2-year project for Bald Mountain Road, but all of these items have to be completed by the Public Works Department to replace a lot of smaller culverts before we finish that road. So you can see there's quite a few of them.
Does it follow the budget number?
You all set, John?
I am, unless Keith has anything else to offer.
Sorry, I stepped out to get another number, but
I just went over those road work that Earl has to do. We're gonna try to do most of it, if not all of it, this year.
Okay.
Does it follow the budget number of the 615 and are we in where we need to be? I see we're over on one item, but we're under on others. Is the Bald Mountain Road would give, if I'm right, 615,000?
So far, we have 27,561 is the cost of materials from Public Works.
87,000.
27.
Okay, but
And
that's,
then we have an estimate for the paved portion of 300,000,
okay.
but we don't have any idea what those big box culverts are gonna cost. Those are to be replaced under DEP requirements, so that
So what you're saying is,
wildlife can
right.
flow through the stream bed.
So what you're saying, the 615 may not be enough for the total project.
No, maybe more than enough. I mean, we don't know yet on those two culverts.
So how can we,
300,000 for reclaiming and resurfacing the paved portion.
I thought I saw in the presentation you wanted 260,000 each culvert.
Possible, I don't know, but there's also grant money available in the transportation bond issue for those culvert
Oh, okay.
replacements.
No, I'm just trying to
So
stay within the...
we're gonna try to be getting grant money for both of those this year. And then we'll see what happens, but it's, it's a long way off before that portion gets used.
Good question, though.
I guess, without hard numbers on the box culverts, I don't know how we, are we comfortable spending 70% of the budget before we do culverts?
The road needs to be done. You do it as you can do it. I mean, those are estimates, Larry. You can see already the results.
Yeah.
Already some are a little over, some are a lot under, so you're gonna find that for every one of these projects. None of them are gonna be on target. So they're all up or down. Every project has unforeseens that you run into.
No, because the question on the next article would be granted to you, I mean, everything else looked on track except that one.
I don't know why that one wouldn't be on track.
It's not, so we'll get there,
You have anything you want to add to this, Keith?
I can just go off on Larry's regard of the crossings and, Bald Mountain's budget, our estimated budget. Obviously, at this point, the crossings will not be addressed this fall based on a timeline issue for the fact that we weren't able to completely apply for the grants one and to, through the RFP process, would have put us past our requested construction time and later into the fall, which would not be allowed through DEP. But also in that same token, I think this allows us to reevaluate the crossings, where there was obviously concern in regards to what was proposed originally from Frank Pearson DEP, and obviously through local interest and contractors, the idea of potentially using a box culvert, which would help alleviate some of the pressure on businesses or interruption to the businesses. Now, obviously, as John mentioned too, in that regard, that there is grant money, potential grant money available for both crossings. And then through a recent email, there's another grant that I don't have the name of it, I apologize, for some more money to assist in potential, some of those crossings also. Whether it be watershed or work, you know, in that development of those stream beds. So I think the money's there. So the large 301,000, we'll call it, for the reclaim, fine grading, basing of Ball Mountain Road would be for 10,320 feet. That would allow, at the Ball Mountain crossing, that would allow roughly 50 to 100 foot buffer on either side of that crossing that didn't get touched until after the crossing was developed and we paid in that. There are other options, obviously, you know, if we're not comfortable spending $300,000 to reclaim and recrown, resurface that much of Ball Mountain. We can look at the latter half, closer to Bugle Cove coming back to Ball Mountain, which is to be determined, the public works crew would be the worst half for maintenance. That would be, you know, replacing of 13 culverts ourselves, as shown in the Excel form. And we could look at maybe spending $175,000 in restructuring, let's just say 5,000, 6,000 feet of that to appease a portion of the road and some of the residents on that. It would still allow us some development in drainage and corrective actions in regards to the culverts that are in place.
I think it's a true statement to suggest that, or to say that the only way we're going to get any grant funding through any of the sources if we meet the compliance of their specs. So not to do a box culvert will put us out of the market of a grant. At least that's the way Wright Pierce gave that to us the first time we met with them about this thing. Is that correct?
Essentially, yes. I mean, there's definitely restrictions or requests that need to be put in place, and I think with those come more opportune times for grants.
There was also a concern on the road, you know, and again, I'm going to take my selectman's hat off and put my ownership hat back on, but I'm very concerned about timeframes because of obviously this could affect my business dramatically if this was done at a time of the year where it's difficult to get to it.
So in response to that, what I would say, obviously, projection in my point of view, and I think speaking with John probably and Wright Pierce in this continuation of this project, is I would like to address the box culvert, other crossings, in the same time frame that we kind of already footprinted for next year. And I think it appeals to yourself and the residents on the road that we kind of keep that later summer, fall time frame in regards to crossings. I would hope in regards to reclaim or road reconstruction, we can leave, try to eliminate the stress. We could leave obviously a traffic lane open, dust mitigation, all that stuff would be in place so that we could make progress on that road, but still not influence any negative influence on business or ownership.
Anything else you want to add? Questions? Anybody here?
Steve, the reason is grant money for these types of culverts is because it's an expensive fix, and it's a rule that DEP, came up with to try to help the frogs and, whatever else cross the street, really. That's what you get down to. When I looked at them, the size of the culverts that are there now are more than adequate. I don't see that as being the reason they need to be replaced, but what DEP says there's a stream running through there all the time, so on those types of crossings, when you replace them, they want you to replace them with these box ones to keep the gravel in the bottom, and it's a whole, science thing, so.
There's been a couple of documented flooding situations on the Ball Mountain side, the mountain side of that one particular culvert, and annually over where, is it still Alterio down there? That floods. Annually, agreed?
Right.
I mean, you've been down there a number of times to see that in the spring.
You gonna wash the culvert out?
Road, not the culvert.
The road out?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I'd say the occurrence, the first one closer to the Cary Road near Ball Mountain Camp, that one's not every year, but there's been times where it has. Yeah. All right. Where are we here? Construction loan breakdown. Next is the loan breakdown.
Yeah, and this was a request from Larry at the last meeting. He'd like to see, the status of all the roads and how they, how much we've spent from the amount of money we've loaned, so, Rebecca put the spreadsheet together, so, I hope this is helpful.
Well, it is.
And I give it to all of you so you can see where we are at this point in time.
That's great, thank you.
So we can keep this coming, every several months, 6 months, whatever, we'll keep you posted.
Thank you for it. It puts a little bit better perspective on the committee.
I think it's an appropriate time to thank all of you. I think you all do a fabulous job. Whenever something's requested, you step up and you produce it for our taxpayers. I don't need to blow sunshine up your tail, but every once in a while, I think a pat on the back is necessary. So I believe you all are fabulous. Every one of your department heads, so thank you. Select Board Communications, we get any? I didn't have any. No? Okay, we're gonna go into executive session. We got a couple of matters we gotta talk over. So I need a motion to move into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we move into executive session pursuant to MSRA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Subsection 405, Personnel Matters, Subsection 405, 6A, HR Consultant to attend.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Gilbert, I'm so sorry. Can I ask for clarification of the record, since the motion content must indicate the precise nature of the business?
Pursuant to personnel matters, and we're going to discuss with our HR consultant about matters.
Okay, and
So
you
it's
feel
right
that's
there.
precise?
I'm sorry?
And you feel that's precise explanation of what you're going into the
Yes,
executive?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.